right, folks, welcome back. Happy draft day, and I'm here with another video for the Rams, their first round. I am going to give you my tier list for each player that the Rams could potentially draft, and I'm not just saying potentially from the standpoint of, yeah, this guy could be a fit for them. No, I mean every single player that has a chance of being drafted in the first round. I think I covered everybody, so I have each tier. We have, and I'll go through it. Before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and also be sure to keep this in mind that we are going live on this channel at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time. We are going to be going live, Alexis Kraft and I, Downtown Rams, 7th annual live stream. I know I said 6th because I can't do math. 7th annual live stream. So we can't wait to see you guys there, but let's get into it. The first tier, we're going to start from the bottom. It is my picks that would make me crash out. Now, am I actually going to crash out? No, that's not really professional. I might have a little bit of a thing to say, but if the Rams end up with one of these 4 players in the first round, I will be very annoyed. I will be visibly annoyed on our live stream. First off, Walter Nolan. I don't believe in the hype. I don't see a first-round talent. I don't think he's a bad player, but I think first round is way too early, and it's not a position of need, in my opinion. It's a position of luxury, and I just don't think Walter Nolan at 26, especially at 26, if they traded up to get him, I'd be even more pissed. But Nolan, to me, is a late second, early third round talent. I think he plays way too chaotic, and so for that reason, he makes that bottom tier picks that would make me crash out list. Next up is Donovan Jackson. I like Donovan Jackson as a late second round pick if I had a need on the offensive line interior. I don't feel like the Rams do, and I don't know why people keep saying the Rams should draft a guard. They don't need a guard. They got 2 guards. They got Kevin Dotson, who is awesome, and they have Steve Avila. So I'm not trying to go out and get another guard. Not in the first round. Next up is Tyler Shuck. There's a window right over there. I think you know the rest. Point being, I'm on the second floor of this apartment. I would rather not dive out of my window. If they do draft Tyler Shuck at pick 26 or at all in the first round, I will be doing that. And last but certainly not least, and not a surprise to you guys, Jackson Dart. I don't think Jackson Dart's a bad prospect, but I think Jackson Dart is eerily similar to Jared Goff, who Sean McVay casted off. I don't believe Jackson Dart, coming out of a system that has never accumulated a franchise quarterback and much less a starting quarterback in the NFL, coming out of that system in Lane Kiffin, it's great in college. It has not worked out in the NFL. When I watch Jackson Dart, there's some things I like. There's a lot that I don't. And I'll tell you right now, if they take him in the first round, it is a mistake. Would it probably work out because of who's around him? Maybe. But I think it's a mistake. And so Jackson Dart, second round, third round, maybe I'm a little bit okay with that. Not okay in the first round. Moving up the rungs, we went from crash out to picks that would have me disappointed. Tyler Booker, okay? Tyler Booker, again, interior offensive lineman. I think he's a stud. He's an absolute stud, and he's a first-round talent. But I don't want him for the same reasons that I said. They have guards. Now, you could make the argument they draft for the future, say they don't want to bring Avila back, they weren't that impressed, they don't sign him, or Kevin Dotson getting up there in age at the end of his deal, something like that. I still am not a fan of it. I'm just not. There are other positions of need. Drafting a guard in the first round, he better be starting day one. And so for that reason, I'd be disappointed. Not crashing out because Tyler Booker is a stud and is worth a first-round pick, but I'd be disappointed. Next up is Nick Scorton. Young, edge defender. I think he does fit, that kind of Michael Hoyt void because he's bigger. Like he's kind of that tweener in between defensive linemen, not straight like a defensive tackle in a 3-4, but defensive line edge. I like Scorton. I don't have a first round grade on Scorton, and I think there are going to be better players available. So for that reason, I'd be disappointed. Not crashing out, disappointed. Same thing goes with Shamar Stewart. Say what you will. I understand college production is not the end all be all, but I do have issues with Shamar Stewart's college production. He only had, 5.5 sacks in his entire career in college. I know he's got power. I know he's got speed to power. And when in doubt, I believe in speed to power more than just speed rushers. But I don't have a first-round grade on Shamar Stewart. He's near the bottom of my top 10 at edge. So I think this would be a reach. I know the board isn't going to feel that way. So that would make me disappointed. It's that simple. And then linebacker Carson Schwestinger. I like this player a lot. He's a pick. Second round, maybe. Third round, fine. Not a first round pick. Like him a lot. I know UCLA fans like him. I don't like him enough to take him in the first round. Those picks would make me disappointed. We move up to the next rung. Picks that I would feel 50-50 with. What I mean is disappointed, no, but I'd be kind of indifferent. I'd feel good. I'd feel not so good. I'd be in between. Disappointed is like, I'm straight up not a fan of this. I feel like 50-50 is kind of like you go back and forth. I can see it, but do I want it? Mason Taylor. Is Mason Taylor a stud? Yes. Does he have the bloodlines for the NFL? Yes. Do I think he is a very well-rounded tight end? Yes. He is absolutely not a first-round tight end. He is a second-round tight end. And by the way, second-round tight ends typically have more success than first-round tight ends. Mason Taylor is good at a lot of things. He is not elite. He doesn't have elite traits. He is young, but I would not draft him in the first round. That said, I like the player enough where I'd go back and forth. I'd like his fit with the Rams, so I can't say I'd be disappointed. I can't say I'd crash out. I would say I'd be about 50-50. Good player. When you look away from the actual fact that they made the pick in the first round, you would just say Mason Taylor is going to make this team better. And for the first time since Tyler Higbee in 2016, the Rams would feel like they have a well-rounded tight end because Gerald Everett was not a great blocker coming out, and Mason Taylor does a little bit of everything very well. Next up is Josh Conerly Jr. I like Josh Conerly out of Oregon, but the leg power isn't quite there. I think that frame is a little concerning. Now, I think he's a good player. He graded out pretty well for me. I gave him a second-round grade. So again, good player. Gives you that air to Rob Havenstein's throne at right tackle, but I wouldn't feel great. I would just be kind of back and forth 50-50. Same thing with Gray Zabel, who can play all 5 positions. I think this would be a really boring pick, but if the Rams made it, I feel like you kind of look at it and you're like, this is a really good football player. Gray Zabel is a stud. Make no mistake about it, out of North Dakota State. I just feel like I'd want more pizzazz. That's just me being lame, I guess. I don't know. But Gray Zabel, I think he's one of the safest prospects in this draft. And he has the versatility to play all 5 positions. So that does make sense if you're trying to chase the Super Bowl this year and you're going to draft a guy that's not necessarily going to start. This feels like the position to probably go with. I go 50-50 here. Linebacker Demetrius Knight Jr. is next up. Love him so much. But all these mocks are telling me he's going in the 3rd round or 4th round, and I had a really high grade on him. Like 50-50 because if that's where the league is seeing him, I feel like picking him in the 1st round might be kind of like a reach. I don't know. I like him a lot. He is older, though. He's going to be 25 this year, so he is older. I like it, but I would be like, yeah, I'd go back and forth. So that's why he ended up there. Mike Green, 50-50 because he's an absolute talent. He's a stud. He is very explosive off the edge and would provide insurance, of course, post Byron Young, who was a older player when he was drafted. But I have a lot of issues with some of the stuff off the field. I understand we don't know for sure. That stuff does leak into my mind about that. And I'm just not, I don't love the SA allegations. I'll just say that. Safety. Nick Ebenwari. I see it. I could absolutely see him working as the star, although I think he is not as good of a cover guy as I want him to be. I just don't feel like he's a first-round talent. This kind of feels, he's a better player than Obi Melifonwu, but this feels like Obi Melifonwu, and I don't want really any part of that. At the same time, though, I do like the prospect. I just don't like him this early. So I'd feel 50-50 because I feel like if they draft him, they have a plan. He'd be really good in the Chris Shula defense, but I feel like this is too early for him. And just drafting him because of the traits, not the traits, but the measurables at the combine would kind of irk me. Not saying the Rams would, but I feel like if he goes in the first, it's because of his testing. And I don't feel like he plays entirely like his testing all the time. Next up, we have a new tier. Picks that I would like. Starting off, running back, Omarion Hampton. Now, I wrestled around with 50-50 to liking this, but I decided I'm going to say I like this because Omarion Hampton has breakaway speed. He has the power that you want. He has the ability to catch passes out of the backfield. He is not a bad pass protector. This guy compared to Joe Mixon, and I think he would complement Kyren Williams really well. And it's a different type of way. So I know people, they're talking about, oh, don't bring back Kyren Williams. This is a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher who's at over 30 rushing touchdowns, okay? I think he's being slept on, but Omarion Hampton here would make sense to a degree because if you can't trade down, let's just say you try to trade back and you can't, and you have to pick the best available, I wouldn't be surprised if he was high on their board. He can do everything pretty damn well. He's built for the position. And now with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and they're not new, like this has happened in the past. Like you look at Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams, I always bring those guys up, or Stephen Davis and Deshaun Foster. Funny enough, both were Carolina Panther backs. Even Marshall Faulk and Steven Jackson to a degree. The dual backs, I think, is the smart approach. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, what about Blake Corum? Well, if you do this, you're trading away Blake Corum, and hopefully you're coming away, now that you picked a running back in the first round, you're trading Blake Corum to the Raiders and going out and getting that tight end, Michael Mayer. But I like Omarion Hampton. I don't love this pick, but I like it. The player's really good. I have a higher grade on other running backs, which is why I don't love it, but I like Omarion Hampton here. Next up is Colston Loveland. I don't have a first-round grade on him. I have an early second. I like Colston Loveland. I know a lot of people think I hate the guy. I don't. I just don't exactly love picking him in the first, but if that is the market, that's the market. Colston Loveland is the best route-running tight end in this draft, in my opinion. His attention to detail, I think, is something that will catch the Rams' eye. So I don't have any issue with it. If they decide to go this direction, you're getting a really good player that I think coincides well and works well with Tyler Higbee. And I also think he could be utilized as a wide receiver straight up. And the blocking is not the best at tight end, but if you move him to wide receiver, well, the blocking all of a sudden becomes pretty good at wide receiver. He is better move blocking than I gave him credit for initially. Just on the inline, he's not really an inline guy. Is he a franchise tight end? I think that remains to be seen, but Colston Loveland, he's a good player. The catch radius is a little concerning. I don't think he's as great in contested catch opportunities despite being 6'6", 248 pounds, but the reality is this is a big target for Stafford. This guy has really good athletic profile. And more importantly, this is somebody that you're getting super young. He'll be 21 his rookie year, and he's already he has a pretty decently high ceiling and a decently high floor. So I would like the pick. I wouldn't love it because I have a higher grade on Fannin, but I do like Colston Loveland. Next up is offensive tackle Ariante Ursary. Now, some people are probably like, what? He's not going in the first round. Who knows? I don't know how these teams are going to look at this player. This player is actually older than most of the tackles that are going ahead of him in mock drafts. But I like Ursary a lot, specifically at right tackle. I really like him. I came away, he's a top 5 player in this draft at the offensive tackle position. I would not dislike this. I would like this pick. If they made it, I would just prefer that they move down. Next up is Kenneth Grant. I think Kenneth Grant is an absolute stud. I love Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. Is he a need for the Rams? I wouldn't say so, but I would also say this draft, you're not drafting for just this year. You're drafting, you get 4 years, and in this case, 5 if you stay in the first round. Kenneth Grant would allow you to have some flexibility in, negotiations with a Kobe Turner, right? You're going to have to pay Braden Fisk. You're going to have to pay Jared Verse, guys like this. So he gives you some leeway into the future. He would absolutely be a perfect fit in the rotation. I love Kenneth Grant. I don't think he'll make it to where the Rams pick, and I don't see them trading up. But if they did get him, say at 26, or if they traded down and he fell into their lap, he's a really good player, and I like the pick. And that goes for Derek Harmon out of Oregon as well. Really good interior defensive lineman. I don't think this is the best defensive lineman draft, despite what people are saying. I think it is deep, but these guys are a lot better than some of the other guys. So I would definitely like Derek Harmon. Next up is edge James Pierce Jr. I would like James Pierce Jr. for the same reason. I get why, you would go after an edge. You have Byron Young. Are you going to sign him? Or are you not going to sign him long term? So you have to figure that out. James Pierce Jr. offers a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism off the edge. Would be another Tennessee volunteer. But I like the pick. I don't love it because I do have higher grades on other, edge defenders. Donovan Ezeraku is another one. Boston College would like the pick. I like the player. I think he's being a little slept on by the media, by, fans and what have you. I think teams in the NFL will like him more than maybe the fans do. So Ezeraku there. And then I also like these three corners: Will Johnson, Savon Revel Jr., and Maxwell Hairston. Will Johnson, I'm not as high on as everyone else. That's why I don't love the pick, even if he falls. I don't have him that high. I still think he's probably an early second, late first rounder, but I don't have him in the top 15 like a lot of people do. I do have issues with his tackling. An ankle biter, and I think he's somewhat of a liability in that regard. So I like the pick. I don't love it. And then Savon Revel. This is a guy coming off, or Revel. This guy's coming off an injury, so there's something there. But also, I liked the tape. I didn't love the tape. So I would say a good player, second rounder in my opinion. I would like the player. I wouldn't love the selection here. And then I would like the selection. I wouldn't love it is Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. This is a player that ran a 4.28, fits their scheme well, but I wasn't as impressed with the tape as maybe I was with the way he tested. And I don't normally make a big deal about the testing. So I think Hairston with the long arms, the crazy athletic measurables, I think he could be there. I would like to pick for the Rams. They'd be getting a really good player on the outside at corner, but I wouldn't love it. We move on to the picks that would make me very happy. Because, of course, you have, there's a level. There are levels to this. The next tier are picks that would make me very happy, would love the picks. And then there's a tier above that where we'll get into it. Let's get into the picks that would make me very happy. I'm going to start off with Matthew Golden from Texas. Instantaneously, you are getting somebody that ran in the 4.2s. It shows up on tape. He is a really fun player. It makes sense. The Texas connection, all of that. I compared him to Antonio Brown. So you would be getting a guy that can work on the outside. He can work on the inside. He's got blazing speed. If you have him on the field at the same time as Tutu Atwell, good luck. But even if you don't, you have him on the field at the same time as Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, also good luck. I think he coincides and complements well with what they currently have. And so I think Matthew Golden would be a home run pick. I just think he's off the board at 12 to the Cowboys. Next up is wide receiver Teteroa McMillan. A lot of stuff coming out late in this process that teams don't feel like he loves football and all sorts of stuff, right? Like, oh yeah, this and that. I think that's all hearsay. Put your money where your mouth is. Put that name behind that quote. That type of deal. I don't really buy too much into it. Although I do think McMillan is going to fall further than people think. 18th to Seattle. So the Rams would have to trade up in my mind. I don't see them doing that. But McMillan has really good pacing in his routes. This is a really good route runner. Attention to detail is there. Really good physical attributes there. Strong at the catch point. This is somebody that creates separation, but he's got a lot of length on him as well. So he'd be a big body to throw to, would work as an X receiver or a big slot. I would be very happy if Teteroa McMillan was a Ram. Next up, we have tight end Tyler Warren. I have no idea where he's going to go. I kind of lean towards the Colts at 14, but I could see him going earlier. I don't know if I buy him to the Jets at 7. I just think that's way too much of a reach. Warren has a lot of things that I love, and he'd be a great pass catcher for the Rams, would be great for Stafford At the same time, though, he's not as good of a blocker as I was anticipating, and he's not the crazy athlete at tight end either. This is not, like you're getting somebody ultra explosive. He is more of a rugged runner, and that because of that would make me very happy. Of course, if he fell to 26, I'd probably be ecstatic, but that's not going to happen. They'd probably have to trade up for him. Would make me very happy, but it's not enough to get me to the next level. Offensive tackle Josh Simmons is my number one tackle in the draft. This would make me very happy. I know the injury is there. People have really big issues with his injury, but I think if all things clear, this is the best tackle in the draft. So I love Josh Simmons. Gives them a long-term answer post Rob Havenstein, and gives them a long-term answer at left tackle if they move on from Alaric Jackson after his contract. Simmons is an absolute stud, a baller. I have him as my number one tackle. He should go top 10, but I think the injuries might push him into the late part of the first round, and so this would make me very happy. And then Kelvin Banks Jr., who's probably going to the Raiders at 6. The stock is crazy with him because he's got the foot speed that you just absolutely love. Really good athlete and can play guard or tackle. Kelvin Banks Jr. is my second offensive tackle in this draft. Really like the player. So I'm a big fan of his game, and he would make me very happy if he was a Ram. Followed by edge defender Mykel Williams, who I expect to go in the top 10. I think the profile there, he's got a huge ceiling. He's a great run defender right off the rip. I think he would be a great fit for the Rams and would work really well, keeping the cheetah package alive with Jared Verse and, of course, Byron Young. Would he be there for the Rams? I don't think so, but I would be very happy if he was a Ram. And that can also be said about defensive back Jahdae Barron from Texas. I think Jahdae Barron is a great fit for the star, a natural fit for the star. I don't necessarily love him on the outside. Shorter arms, I do think that puts him at a disadvantage. But on the inside, well, Jahdae Barron could be one of the best slot corners or star role guys out there in the league. Great athletic body, profile, all of that. But I think he'd be a great fit, and I think Chris Shula could use him in a bunch of different ways. Would be very happy with that pick. And then Malachi Starks at safety, coming out of Georgia. This is another guy, natural fit in the star role, allows Quentin Lake to go over to safety. You also give him, you give some insurance to the roster because you have those two guys that'll be free agents after the season. Are you going to bring back Cam Curl? Are you going to bring back Quentin Lake? Those are the things that you got to get over, figure out. And so Malachi Starks makes a lot of sense in that regard. So that would make me very happy. We move on to the next tier here, which are picks that would make me ecstatic. All right. Starting off, quarterback, Jalen Milroe. I would be absolutely ecstatic if the Rams ended up with him. And the reason being is because I believe it makes a ton of sense to take that arm strength and that athletic body and profile and develop him over the course of 2 years, have him sit behind Stafford and see what you can make of him. The thing that I can't stand that is being talked about with Jalen Milroe is people say he's not accurate, he's not ready. I know he's not ready. But if you're able to get him 2 years behind Matthew Stafford, I believe he will be ready. And if you're thinking that Sean McVay wouldn't have fun using a mobile quarterback, you're out of your mind. The things that he could do with Jalen Milroe, I'm telling you right now. And another thing, Milroe isn't just an arm and a leg. This is somebody that has worked his tail off to get better each year, working in 2 different offenses. He has a huge work ethic that people keep talking about. He's very well liked. He's a leader. This isn't one of those guys that you draft who's all tools. This guy has a lot of the intangibles that I think people just overlook. I think they overlooked it with Jalen Hurts when he went in the second round. I think they overlook it routinely. And I think they're doing it again with Jalen Milroe. And so for that reason, I'd be ecstatic if the Rams ended up with him. You check that box, and now all of a sudden, you have the Seahawks and the 49ers and the Cardinals all waiting for the Rams to fall off post Matthew Stafford. Well, what if Jalen Milroe ends up being your franchise quarterback and plays at the level he can with McVay and has those legs and that strong arm to boot? Going to be a tough one. Then at quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. Would be ecstatic. I think Shedor's a stud. I don't care about all the haters out there. I don't care about what's being said at all. Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback day one, I think, in this draft. Cam Ward is the best overall quarterback. But I think as it stands right now, Shedeur Sanders is ready to play more than Cam Ward is. Shedeur Sanders mentally is just a step ahead of everybody else. And I really don't think people credit his leadership enough because they look at when he threw his offensive tackles under the bus. They never talk about him throwing credit to his offensive line the following week and basically apologizing for what he said. He was a frustrated kid. It happens. It's college football. This is somebody that takes too many sacks. I'm aware of that. Aside from that, can make all the throws. He throws with anticipation. He's tough as hell. He's got a lot of things that I think translate to the NFL level, and I think people are overthinking it once again with Shedeur Sanders. Next up, we have running back Travion Henderson, who I think is better than Omari and Hampton, which is why I'd like the Hampton pick. But if Travion Henderson was still there, I'd be a little kind of bummed because I think Travion Henderson would make me ecstatic. Forget about my love for Kyren Williams for a sec. Understand, Travion Henderson, Kyren Williams can coexist in an NFL world that has a team that has Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I think in a lot of aspects, David Montgomery and Kyren Williams are very similar. But at the same time, I also think Travion Henderson has some of that juice that you see with Jahmyr Gibbs. Maybe not to that degree, as I've actually compared Travion Henderson to Christian McCaffrey. Others would compare him to Alvin Kamara. I think the pass catching ability, the running ability, and his pass protecting ability makes him a really good fit for the Rams. I think he's the best fit in the entire draft. And obviously, I don't think Ashton Genty will be there for him. So Travion Henderson would make me ecstatic to see him go to the Rams. Next up, wide receivers. And I got three of them. Luther Burden III. What he can do after the catch. The way that he can manufacture explosives, break tackles. He is DJ Moore. He is a running back in a wide receiver's body, and he makes guys miss, but he also runs people over. And he also goes up and high points the football. And he's a better route runner than giving credit for. And he has inside-outside potential. Luther Burden III has the most upside of any receiver in this draft, including Travis Hunter in my mind. And I think people are, once again, overlooking and overthinking this guy. Next up is Emeka Egbuka. I compared him to Robert Woods. He is a perfect Rams receiver. This is a guy that is a really, really good route runner, one of the best run blockers in the actual draft here. And I'll just be real here. When you look at Emeka Egbuka, great after the catch, separation, but can also go up and high point the football, can win the contested catch battle, got better every single year in college at that level, but also he tested pretty well. So I think his athletic traits are greatly underestimated, and I do think he can work on the outside and can work on the inside. Egbuka has the release package to win regardless, and I think, once again, people are overthinking and sleeping on this guy. Emeka Egbuka would make me ecstatic to see him become a Ram. And last but not least, at the wide receiver position, Jaden Higgins. Higgins, I have a higher grade on Teteroa McMillan and Matthew Golden. I think Jaden Higgins is going to potentially go in the first round. But if he doesn't, he's going to go very early on day two. Higgins has the body composition that you would see with a Mike Evans, and he plays like Mike Evans. That's my comp for him. When you look at the foot speed and the footwork off the line of scrimmage, his release package, this guy can work as a big slot early on, but can develop in your X receiver to take over for Devontae Adams down the road, but can also help you in the red zone where you were 22nd in the league last year. So Jaden Higgins would be a really good pick for the Rams. Might draw some concerns from people saying he was reached on, but I'm telling you, that profile there, and then also you have to factor in the familiarity with Nate Schilhaus on the roster. Higgins could be a stud for the Rams for sure. I'd be ecstatic on that one. Next up is Mason Graham. Why are we talking about this? Mason Graham is one of the safest prospects in this entire draft, and he still has a really high ceiling. He's going to be dominant. And I just mocked him at 10 to the Jaguars because of everything that's going on. Mason Graham is falling down boards, or maybe already did, and we're just finally catching up. And I don't see why. I think this guy is clearly the best defensive lineman in this draft. I like him more than Abdul Carter. Okay, so I would absolutely be ecstatic if the Rams came away with Mason Graham. I just don't know if I see that being possible. But hey, is he going to keep falling? Who knows? If he does, don't be surprised if the Rams just say, screw it, we're going best player available. Mason Graham's too good to pass up on. And they make that. I'd be ecstatic if they did. Linebacker Jalen Walker, who I think is the best linebacker, and if he was an edge defender on my board, he'd probably be one, if not the best edge defender. I think Jalen Walker's upside is immense. I think he can be utilized as a chess piece. He can play inside. He can play outside backer, and I think he would work so well in Chris Shula's defense. I don't sadly believe he'll be there, but I'll be ecstatic if he somehow finds a way to fall to 26, or the Rams are able to trade up a little bit to get him. Same thing with linebacker Jahad Campbell. Not the same exact thing where he's an edge defender, because Jalen Walker quite literally is a positionless two positions player. But Jahad Campbell is a really good linebacker. I see him coming off the board at 19 at Tampa, but I think he would provide a great 1-2 punch with Omar Speights. So really like Campbell. That's a guy that I'd be ecstatic for. And last but certainly not least here on the ecstatic meter and tier, we're talking about cornerback Trey Amos. He ended up grading as my number one cornerback in this draft. I absolutely loved his tape. I don't care he doesn't have the elite speed. I think we're focusing way too much on those things. They don't always translate at the NFL level. This is a guy that will play 10 years. You'll feel great about it every time he takes the field. He's going to be a model of consistency. His ball skills will develop. He'll get better over the course of time, and he has the physicality to actually make tackles in the run game and not just dive at, guys' ankles. This is somebody I really like. I think he is a no doubt about it first-round pick. Will he go in the first round? I don't know, but if the Rams got him, I'd be ecstatic. He'd work so well next to Ahkello Witherspoon. Last and least, because it's not happening, this last tier are picks that would make me feel like I am in a dream because they're so unlikely, and that doesn't mean I necessarily want everybody over some of the guys that I mentioned. Ashton Genty. I think he goes at 5. And I don't think it's to the Jaguars. I think it's to the Bears. I think they trade up and they get Genty. And I think it's just kind of a no-brainer. Ben Johnson getting his, trade up there, getting his Jahmyr Gibbs. Not saying Ashton Genty even plays like Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's getting his guy there. Not a surprise. Travis Hunter, would love Travis Hunter, but the Rams would have to give up my firstborn, who doesn't even exist. And I'm not honestly willing to do that for Travis Hunter, as much as I love the guy. He's not a quarterback, giving up 2026 and 2027 draft capital potentially to draft a wide receiver when you already have Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, and Jordan Whittington. Doesn't seem like the smart approach. That said, he does also play cornerback, but it doesn't feel realistic. So, yeah, that would be Twilight Zone territory. Cam Ward. Rams have their franchise quarterback in Cam Ward, the only first-round quarterback, in my opinion, in this draft. And while I think Shedeur Sanders is more NFL ready than Cam Ward, I think Cam Ward has the higher ceiling and more upside, and he's a better athlete, and he has a much stronger arm. Cam Ward is an absolute baller. He won't be there because he's going number 1 overall, but if he did fall to the Rams, that would feel like a dream. I'd be convinced I was living in a simulation. Offensive tackle Armand Membou. I have other offensive tackles rated higher, so this isn't me saying that he's better. If you're in this tier, it's just that's how impossible this feels to be Rams. Armand Membou is a really good player. I do think he's getting a little bit overhyped as we draw closer. With that said, though, I like the player. This would just not happen. It's that simple. And then Will Campbell, another player I really like, but I have other, higher grades on Kelvin Banks, like I said, and of course Josh Simmons. Will Campbell will not make it past 4. He's been a New England Patriot for a long time in mock drafts. He'll officially be a New England Patriot tonight, in my opinion. And then last but not least, edge defender Abdul Carter, who we all know basically told everyone yesterday he's going to be a New York Giant. He's just, you'd have to trade up to 2 to jump in front of the Giants. I don't see that happening. Abdul Carter, that would be the Twilight Zone. So, in conclusion, I have a lot of picks that I would be okay with. I only have 4 picks that would make me lose my shit. Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, Donovan Jackson, Walter Nolan. Of course, those are guys that could even potentially be drafted in the first round. Obviously, if there are other names out there like a third round pick, that's not what I'm talking about. And hopefully that doesn't happen. The disappointment picks, Tyler Booker, Nick Scourton, Shamar Stewart, and Carson Swessinger. Still like those players a lot. Would probably draft them in the second round if they were there, or consider it at least. And then the 50-50 guys, Mason Taylor, Josh Connerly Jr., Gray Zabel, Demetrius Knight Jr., Mike Green, and Nick Eamon-Worry. Doesn't mean I don't like the players, just means maybe it's a little bit of a reach, maybe it's not a need, all of that. And then I pretty much like most of the picks. So that's how I have it. My priority to me would be getting Jalen Milroe via a trade down. I think that's probably the best course of action if you want to prepare for the future, but also have somebody that could, also double as a potential Taysom Hill option. And when I say that, keep this in mind, Taysom Hill is nowhere near as good athletically as Jalen Milroe. So just think about what he could do in those sub-package roles. And if you're going to mention Trey Lance ever again to me, look at Trey Lance run and tell me he runs like Jalen Milroe does. He just doesn't. So Milroe's been durable. There is, of course, that little push. Like if you do that, you could be hurting him. You could be, lowering all that. That's true. But I think Milroe's a stud. I think he would be the perfect option post Matthew Stafford. It seems like the thing that the Rams are least likely to do, but no one also saw them meeting with him either, and they did that. And now no one's talking about them drafting him. He is not on any mocks except for mine. I'm not saying they will, but I'm just telling you that there's some disconnect here where we're all going to get it wrong. And by we're all, I don't know who that's going to be, but I don't know how many mocks they've gotten their pick right. I do think they trade down, and they might just trade out of day one entirely. But if they do, be sure to check us out tomorrow, Friday's day 2 coverage of the NFL draft, downtown Rams style. That will be, I believe, at 6:30 we're going to try to do, or 7, whatever it is when it starts. But that's all I got for you guys. It's a lot. I know. It was way more detailed than I expected, but it's a long list, and I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. If you have any questions, be sure to drop them below, and I'll see you guys tonight. Later, folks. All right, guys, so once again, just want to let you guys know that you can check out my new side project, The Lounge. I interview athletes, musicians, actors, actresses, all the 9, so definitely check it out over on The Lounge with Jake Ellenbogen channel. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.